This video will guide you through installation of a mobile radio and remote head intercom for the Polaris Pro XP, Turbo R, and Pro R. Before we begin installation, it may help to have a visual of what your complete radio and intercom setup will look like when installed. With this installation, we will be mounting the mobile radio in the center of the dash, while the remote head intercom rocker switch controls will go in an open switch hole right below the radio, with the main intercom body mounted out of the way below the center console as shown. It's always advisable to disconnect the battery when performing your installation. Let's begin by removing plastic panels. Start near the glove box and begin to pry the panel up as shown. No tools required for this step. Next, remove the screws under the cover off the glove box. Move to the driver's side and pry the two panels up and off as shown. Now remove the screws as shown. Lift the center storage box up and out. If using a ride command, you may have to temporarily unplug the wiring that's passed through the hole. Move to the front of the vehicle and remove the front panel. Now slide both rubber boots on the A pillar upward slightly. Since there are wired speakers integrated into the rubber boot, lift them just a few inches as shown to provide clearance around the hood panel. With that complete, you can now remove the larger hood panel. Remove the passenger side storage box. Next, remove the single bolt next to the gear shift handle. Pull the rubber seal up and off as shown. Then remove the outer plastic trim. Now remove the cup holder. A few gentle tugs will release it from the console. Next, remove the panel on the rear of the center console as shown. Now, let's remove the rear seats by pulling on the release lever behind the headrest. Then tip the seat forward to release and remove it. Repeat this process for the other seat. Now, let's remove the panels behind the rear seats as shown here. They can be easily removed by turning the release levers. This will give us room to run our rear seat cables as we move into this installation. For this installation, we're going to start with cables in the back and then run them forward. Here, we attach the 16-foot intercom cable to the left shoulder seatbelt as shown, securing it in place with a soft tie R-wrap. Soft tie R-wraps are a reusable, trimmable cable tie that's easy to adjust and reposition. The hook and loop design keeps your cables secure and prevents pinching, crimping, or over-tightening of critical communications cables commonly associated with zip ties. Leave about 8 to 10 inches of cable hanging down. Repeat the cable installation for the bump seat and other passenger seat. With the rear seat cables in place, let's do the driver and passenger cables. Again, install them on the left shoulder seat belt, leaving 12 to 14 inches of cable hanging down. We add a little additional length on the front seats because the seat positions are adjustable, and we want to be sure we always have enough slack. Secure the cables as shown, working them down towards the middle of the center console. We'll come back to them in a minute. Repeat this process for the other seat. Next, secure all rear seat cables with soft tie R-wraps to the back wall and roll cage as shown here, working them all to meet together at the center rear of the center console. With all rear seat cables grouped, we need to work them through the center console. We begin this process by feeding a cable snake through the center console towards the back of the vehicle. Secure the cables together with a soft tie R-wrap and tape the bundle to the cable snake. Pull the cable snake forward to pull the cables into the center console. Now, let's feed the driver and passenger cables into the console as well. There's a convenient hole on each side of the center console, near the bolt shown here, that allows for easy cable pass-through. Now secure all the cables together with soft tie R-wraps along the interior of the console as shown to keep your installation clean. Next, we need to run all cables to where the intercom body will be mounted under the center console. We first start by drilling a 1.5-inch hole in the plastic panel in the center console as shown. This allows cable pass-through to the intercom body. As we move forward through this installation, we'll also be running a power lead from the active filter and an extension cable from the radio to the intercom. With the hole drilled, feed the cable snake through the hole and into the center console as shown. This may require a little finesse as you more or less have to work the cable snake backwards. But hey, if we can do it, you can do it. Just like before, we'll tape the cables to the snake and pull them through the hole we just drilled. Next, although we missed filming this next step, it's easy enough to follow, and this only applies if you're using the optional lower panel mount. Pop the 12-volt plug out of the original factory location and disconnect the power leads off the back of it. We're going to relocate this into the new mount shortly. We'll need to remove 2 push pins from the locations shown in order to pull the side panel back. Loosen the trim panel on the center console as shown and pull the side panel back to give some working room. With a pair of wire cutters, locate the wire bundle containing the 12-volt leads and cut the zip tie to free up some additional cable length. Now, let's get back to the installation for everyone, whether you're installing a lower panel or not. In preparation for cutting the dash and as a safety step to prevent accidental cutting of critical components, we want to unbolt a module under the dash to move it out of the way. Next, we need to cut the dash to make room for the mount assembly. For this, you can use a hot knife, a Dremel, or die grinder type tool. We used painter's tape for better visibility on camera, but we suggest using a Sharpie and outline the cutting pattern as shown here. Be sure to trace the inside edge of the mount as indicated in the video. Pay close attention to the cut lines. When getting into the top corners, it's important we don't cut completely into the corners. As shown here, follow the designated cut line so the internal mount hole is not obscured and the outer hole lays over the plastic panel. Also note that we ran the cut as shown here all the way to the back of the panel. After making these cuts and removing the push pin, remove the panel. Secure the mount trim in place with the top 2 screws only. Here's why. For this installation, we're also installing an optional lower panel that provides access to accessory switches. Other lower panels are available for switch panels, jack mounts, and more. So if you are using a lower panel option, we suggest positioning the lower panel as shown in the video to help align the mount and lower panel before committing drill holes for the upper mount. Once you've determined the alignment and position are accurate, you can finish installing the top mount by screwing in the bottom screws as shown. When complete, your mount should look like this installation on screen. Alright, now let's install the antenna coax cable. Ultimately, we will run the cable through a hole in the A pillar, up the pillar and toward the back. This process begins by feeding the cable snake through the roll cage from the rear to the front. Take the small end of the coax cable to the cable snake and slowly pull the cable through from front to back. Drill a 3/8-inch hole in the center of the roof right behind the roll bar as shown here. Place the NMO bulkhead in the hole and attach the plastic washer and NMO nut. Notice we're holding the wrench vertically to tighten the NMO nut. We do this to reduce over-tightening the NMO nut, which can damage the NMO bulkhead. This should be snug, but again, not over-tightened. Then, connect the coax cable to the NMO bulkhead. Next, we need to loosen the bolts securing the roof. This will provide clearance to slide a couple soft tie R-wraps under the roof panel and secure the coax cable to the cage. Attach the antenna and hand tighten to secure it in place. Moving to the front of the vehicle, we will finish routing the coax cable coming out of the A-pillar. The most important tip here is that you never want to coil excess coax cable, so don't stray far from this next part. Work the coax cable as shown here along the tubing and secure it in place with soft tie R-wraps. Once you move down the tubing, you can double back so it falls near the center of the dash for easy connectivity to the radio we'll be installing. Let's move on to push-to-talk buttons. Start by securing the coil cord push-to-talk button to the steering wheel as shown here. Be sure to add a strain relief loop to minimize tension on the cable. More detailed instructions are included with your PTT on how to achieve this. After attaching it to the steering wheel, leave a decent length below the steering wheel as shown. This allows the cord to flex and stretch when turning the steering wheel without putting harmful strain on the cord. Simply secure the cable under the steering wheel with a soft tie R-wrap. When complete, move on to the passenger side. Affix the straight cord PTT to the grab bar as shown, also creating a strain relief to minimize tension on the cable. Feed the remaining cable through the dash, down and behind. Ultimately, both PTT cables will pass through the hole we drilled in the black plastic and connect to the intercom. Alright, next we're going to install the active filter. We're going to connect the power leads from your radio and intercom to this little guy to improve audio clarity and filter out electrical interference. We first start by attaching the ground lead from the active filter to the location on the Polaris pulse bar as shown here. Then, we'll connect the power lead to the first port on the pulse bar. Feed the power lead down behind the dash and then secure the active filter to the plastic panel with 2 screws. At this point, all our cables are where they need to be. It's time to connect them to the intercom. The back of the intercom has specific connection points for all devices, so be sure to follow the indicators to match headsets or helmet kits, push-to-talk buttons, rear seat passenger connections, power, and radio. The intercom itself will be mounted using a snap mount to the upper plastic panel. This next clip is from another installation, but should help illustrate how the snap mount works. We use the 2 bolts that came with your intercom and slide them into the channel alongside your intercom. The edge of the mount slides into the channel along the intercom, holding it in place, as seen here, while the screws on the other side secure it into the mount. Tighten the bolts with a 10mm wrench. The snap mount allows us to mount the intercom in virtually any location or position. The only thing different in this installation is that we will secure the snap mount to the upper plastic panel. This gets the intercom up and out of the way, closer to the radio, and cleans up the look of our installation. As you can see here, we already installed the snap mount using the supplied hardware. This is pretty straightforward, just be sure to position the mount as shown. Next, let's prepare the radio and intercom mount. This is pretty straightforward, as we slip the radio into the mount, as shown, and secure the radio with the provided screws. Next, place the intercom rocker switch into a slot and push it in position until it snaps in place. Attach the extension cable to the hardwired radio cable on the back of the radio. Now, let's mount the accessory hub to the side panel as shown here. The accessory hub allows easy access to radio programming and firmware updates without having to remove the radio from the dash. It also features a 3.5mm jack to connect an external speaker. Position the mount assembly near the dash. Connect the antenna coax cable, the accessory hub, and power cable. With all your cable connections complete, install the mount assembly into the dash as shown here. As mentioned earlier, we're using an optional lower panel mount, so now is the time to reconnect the 12-volt outlet and power leads to the lower panel and install it into the dash. With the radio assembly mounted in the dash, now connect the cable from the rocker switch controls to the intercom body as shown here. We're almost done. We can begin reassembly of the vehicle, securing all panels and seats back to their original location. Make sure all panels are aligned in the right tabs and secured with the same hardware. And if you disconnected it earlier, now is the time to reconnect your battery. Your installation is complete. It's always best to test radio and intercom performance in an outdoor open area. As always, Rugged Radios stands by to help with any questions you have. Check out product manuals and instructions online or give us a call for assistance. Get ready to go further